welcome back to the channel, man. Today we're gonna be lowering the old cat eye. We're only doing the backside today, so we're definitely gonna be squatty boys, you know what I'm saying? But we'll move on to the front in another video. Today we're gonna be lowering the back of this thing 6 to 7 inches, I guess. And we're gonna be doing that using an axle flip kit. So right now we are sitting at about 35¼ inches. Chemical. This is our axle flip kit. I actually picked this up off of Amazon. This thing was $33, bro. I have a link in the description down below if you guys are interested. But of course, let's see how this installation goes before you go and purchase it, because who knows, man? It might not work out. I've never done an axle flip before, so this is gonna be my first experience with it, but it doesn't look too difficult. The only thing that didn't come in this kit are these guys right here. I had to order them separate. I'll also have a link in the description down below. This is going to extend our mounting point for the rear shocks so that I didn't have to buy new shocks. I just bought these little extensions. Welcome back. So to explain what we're doing here, for those of you who may not know, we are doing an axle flip kit. So these Silverados come with the axle on the bottom of the leaf spring, where all we are going to do is simply put the axle from the bottom to the top. So instead of this thing being way down here, giving it its stock height, we're going to move it to the top of the leaf spring. So all this is going to be up here, giving it about 6 to 7 inches of drop. But in order to do that, do you guys see this little flat spot that's actually welded onto the rear axle? That's the axle perch. We can't just simply move this from the bottom to the top, because then our axle perch won't be there and there'll be nothing for the leaf spring to actually sit onto the axle. So therefore, that's where our axle flip kit comes in. It gives us something to actually sit on. So first thing we're gonna do is actually soak all these bolts with some WD-40, because I'm sure they haven't been taken off since this truck was built in 2005. Not only on the leaf springs, we're gonna have to take all of these nuts off, but also on the shocks, because we're gonna have to undo that stuff. I hope these have been replaced since 2005, but I'm sure they're still very hard to get off. We also may need to unbolt the leaf springs. I don't know yet. I see some people that do this. They actually take the leaf spring out and then put the leaf spring back on underneath. I don't know if I'm going to do that, because if I'm being honest with you, I don't want to have to take the damn gas tank out. In order to get that bolt right there to come out, do you see how long that bolt is that goes through there? And right on the other side of it is the gas tank. So that stops you from being able to slide that damn bolt out. Thank you, GM. Go ahead and soak this side with some WD-40 as well. Oh, another really important one is this center bolt that goes between the leaf springs. We're gonna have to take this out and actually flip it over, because that is what centers our rear axle on the other side. We want the thread and the nut on this to be on the bottom and the center finder to be on the top, the little nub that sticks out. I'm gonna go ahead and place a jack underneath the rear end of this thing. This is mostly, at this point, just for some extra safety for myself, because this truck is just sitting on the quick jacks. This is the heaviest vehicle I've ever had on my quick jack. So now we're gonna go ahead and unbolt the bottom of these shocks, because I know for a fact I need those out of my way, and none of these sockets are big enough. Nice. Size are you? 20, probably a 21. 21. Next, I'm gonna disconnect these brackets that are holding all of our brake lines, just to give us a little bit more play with this thing to move it around. There's one there and one up front. And I'm just gonna finger tight the bolts back in there so that I don't lose them through the process of us doing this, because who knows, there might be a couple of moments where we get kind of pissed off and frustrated and start yelling and throwing shit. And in those moments, you don't want to lose your bolts, so put them away. All right, just kind of let that stuff hang there. Now what I'm going to do is work on the leaf spring on the other side. Well, actually both sides. We're going to take these U-bolts off, just loosen the nut on the bottom, pull them up out of our way. So then the jack is going to be supporting the rear end by itself. It'll no longer be attached to the truck. But before I do that, I'm gonna grab my other floor jack and I'm gonna put it underneath the front of the truck, because we are gonna be taking a lot of weight off the back right now. I don't want it to end up teetering. Not saying that it will, but this is a lot of weight that's gonna come off of the back of the truck, and it's a possibility. So for instance, if you were doing this on a lift right now, it would be a really good idea to put some kind of support on the front. I don't know what they're called, because I'm not fortunate enough to have a lift, but you know those bars that go up and you can tighten it to kind of support things. It's like a really freaking tall jack stand for the most part. That would be a good time to go ahead and put one of those in place. And my jack unfortunately does not reach, because those things actually lift this damn truck pretty high. So use one of my wood blocks and just put enough pressure on the front for it to give it a little nudge. The U-bolts are also 21 millimeter. Yep, glad that jack stand was there. Update, I have the rear end sitting on one of my blocks so that it's nice and squared. It's not going to try to swivel on me left, right, forward, back. It sits nice and square on that thing. And I can kind of slide it on that wood, like left to right. We're kind of limited on the amount of room that we can move it, because I still have my brake lines and drive shaft and everything all connected, so I have to be careful whenever I am moving it. But went ahead, I pulled all the bolts out of my hitch except for the front. The front ones, I just loosened them all the way down as far as I can go before the nut will actually fall off. So then that allowed the hitch to just kind of pivot down, and it pivoted down enough to where I was able to get, where my bolt at? Oh, there. I was able to get this long ass bolt out of here that holds the leaf spring. So with the hitch in the way, you're not able to slide those out. But whenever you drop it down, that's plenty. Instead of actually removing the whole thing, you can just kind of pivot it down like this. So now I have the leaf spring actually dismounted. So I lifted it up and I have it just kind of resting here. Now what I'm gonna do, I want to try to slide the rear end as far that direction as I can to get it out of the way of the leaf spring. And then we do have a little bit of flex that we can kind of flex it over if we need to. I need to try to get this around the rear end, bring it down to underneath. That's the goal. But before we do that, I need to go ahead and get this nut off of there and switch this bolt around. Like I mentioned earlier, we gotta drop that out and then flip it over and put it in the opposite direction. Now hang on, before you go and take that damn bolt out of there, you need to make sure and clamp your leaf springs together, because that bolt is what's holding all of these pieces together. Take a wire brush and try to clean these threads as good as I can so that that nut doesn't just bind on there. It's trying to. Hey, nice, got the nut off. Alright, we got that thing out of there and flipped it around. We're actually lucky that we're able to do that, because a lot of times these things are seized and you have to like cut them out and then stop what you're doing and go to an auto parts store to go and buy a new one in the middle of all this madness and realize that the auto parts store that you went to doesn't have it. So now you're stuck going to 3 to 4 different auto parts stores just to find this one stupid little freaking piece in order for you to progress forward, just to end up getting home and not even feeling like coming back out here and dealing with all this madness because it's freaking hot outside and you just spent the last 2 hours in your car in the air conditioning driving around to find that when you should have been already finished with what it was that you were doing. Anyhow, moving on. Now I have no idea whether this is gonna work. So like I mentioned, my plan is to try to scoot the rear end over as far as I can and kind of flex the leaf spring towards me as much as I can to try to get this past the rear end and up underneath it. I haven't seen anybody do it like that, so I feel like it'd probably be the easiest way instead of having to either completely remove the rear end or completely remove the leaf spring. Because to do the leaf spring, I gotta drop the damn gas tank, and I don't want to do all that. So let's try my method first. Hopefully it works. Oh, Jesus Lord. Right there. Christ. Okay, I am out of room, I think, with my brake line. Yeah, pretty much out of room with my brake line. Yeah, we're not looking good. Unless I can unbolt this and get more room out of my brake line. Get more flex. Let me see, let me see. Oh, Jesus Christ. Sorry, I'm used to the leaf spring not moving like that. Yeah, if I unbolt this bracket right here, it might give us like 2 more inches, which might be enough. Who knows? I'm just saying, 2 inches is actually quite a bit. I just realized that what I'm talking about up here probably is not even in frame for you guys. Bracket's up here. I'm gonna unbolt. Maybe turn my camera lens around so I can see what it is you guys see. Nope, yeah, you weren't able to see that at all, so. I will say I'm ending up with a lot more nuts and bolts sitting on the ground than what I was expecting to have. Give me my 2 inches! Oh, now you motherfucker! Oh, I think we're gonna make it. Maybe. Tight as that. And you can be tighter. Took the shackle off to get a little bit more space to move this damn leaf spring. Yeah. Oh, yep, that's what we need to do. Give me a couple more inches. Yep, we're underneath. Good Lord. All right, get back over here. Get back over here, baby. Whew, that wasn't so bad. I didn't have to take everything apart. Well, kind of had to take everything. Whatever. It wasn't that bad, right? All right, now let's go over there and figure out what kind of crap we got to do to finagle the passenger side to be caught up with this side. All right, so once we get through the driver's side, the passenger side is a lot easier, and I'm going to show you why here in a second. But before we do too much, I got to go ahead and get this bolt flipped. What the hell? Oh my goodness. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are 2 for 2 on that. I think I gotta go to the freaking casino tonight. Alright, so the reason why the passenger side is so much easier than the driver's side is because of the lack of a gas tank. So either way, we had to go ahead and pivot our hitch down so that we're able to get that bolt out. But if you look over here, we're gonna have enough space to actually take the front bolt out as well. Okay, so with us being able to remove both sides. Oh crap, it's heavy. God dang, Gina, this thing's freaking heavy. Good Lord. We can remove the whole leaf. God. I envision this clip going a lot smoother. Oh, all right, so remember, our leaf spring was on top. Now we need our leaf spring to be underneath. So being able to remove the whole thing, now we can just position it underneath and put one side up, and then we'll be able to pivot it up onto the other side. Good Lord, that leaf spring kicked my ass. Man, that thing is heavy. And yeah, You would think to go ahead and slide the leaf spring underneath and put the bolt in the front and pivot up the back, but our exhaust is in the way. So I'm gonna do the exact opposite of that on this side. That's what we did over there. We still have the front in because of that damn gas tank. Pivot the back up and put the bolt back in. So on this side, I'm gonna reposition the rear, but with the leaf spring now underneath the axle, and then we'll have to pivot up the front and put that bolt in. Yeah, so now to get this big old heavy monstrosity back in here and get it in the position, and then yeah, I need to kind of clean up my mess and everything, and then start getting this thing in the position. I'm probably going to do that side over there first, so just do one side at a time so I can lift the axle up, and then come over here and do this side. And once we get the leaf springs back in there and the axle just kind of sitting on the leaf springs is whenever we're going to introduce our flip kit over there. I'm just gonna, you know, lift the rear end and slide the flip kit underneath it. But yeah, that's what's up next after I go and take a break. Whoop. All right, we definitely want to take these bump stops off, because where we're going, we ain't going to be needing these guys. My first instinct was to grab a sawzall out and cut these things off. But then under closer observation, man, I noticed that they're actually bolted on. So make sure to unbolt those and get them out of your way. All right, finally, the fun part. All right, so this is our bottom plate that the U-bolts are going to be going through. This piece is what is going to now be the new spring perch. It's going to sit, the axle is going to sit inside of it, and these little ears that stick up actually go inside of the old perch. That's what holds this thing nice and sturdy, nice and square. Also helps position it. Another thing to note is that centering hole on the bottom, it's no longer in the center. That's because we moved the rear end so far up, it's actually scooting it back slightly. So where it was in the center here, it's now scooted back probably an inch. So that hole needs to go towards the front of the vehicle because the axle is scooting back. So get that into position on the leaf spring. Gotta scoot our axle back a little bit. All right, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and set it on the axle and then lower the axle down. And whenever the weight of it is sitting on the leaf spring, then we should be able to slide the whole thing back. There it is. All right, so I am gonna have to do something differently. So the way that this flip kit is designed is you have this plate that sits on top now, and then your squared U-bolts go over that on both sides, and then you put your plate on the bottom. The plate goes on the bottom, the U-bolts go through it, and then you bolt it up. But unfortunately, the stock U-bolts are not long enough. I kinda was expecting this to happen, but I wasn't sure. I did not order U-bolts. Luckily for me, I had a set of U-bolts here. They were just way too long, so I sat them up here and I marked them, cut them off. Anytime you're gonna cut something with threads, you wanna make sure to put the nut on first and have the nut up past where you're cutting, so whenever you cut it, you can go ahead and use the nut to repair the end and make sure that you're gonna be able to thread it back on. Anyhow, so now I'm gonna have to use the rounded U-bolts, and instead of doing it in this fashion, we're gonna ditch all of this. And now the rounded U-bolts are actually gonna go over the axle the way, you know, like normal U-bolts are. It won't fit over the axle with the nuts on it. So now these rounded U-bolts will go over the axle and they stick out past the bottom of the leaf spring the way that I need them to. And luckily the plate that was provided for the bottom still lines up with running the U-bolts like this. So that's it. Now I'm just gonna put the plate on the bottom. Remember to make sure that the hole is gonna line up. And I have washers and lock washers I gotta put down there with it. I'm gonna go ahead and start all of them, and then I'll go grab all my lock washers and everything, and then come back and put a lock washer. Well, I'll put a flat washer and a lock washer on each one at a time, and snug it up. All right, I went over absolutely everything, checked and made sure everything is tight. The leaf springs, front and back. I got these little brackets that hold our brake cables, put back on and tightened. All the U-bolts are tight. Even got my damn hitch back on. So now the only thing we got left is to put the shocks back on, and those are the only parts that we have left, are these little shock mount extenders. So I'm gonna slap these things on, get the shocks bolted back up, and then we can put the wheels back on. See if this thing is too low. I'm honestly kind of worried as to whether or not those freaking wheels are still gonna fit. I don't know, but we'll see. Alright guys, I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning of this video, where we went and recorded the truck, that's where I wanted to end the video. It was gonna be like the before and after clips, you know what I'm saying? But to be straight up honest with you guys, I am not driving that truck anywhere like that. Holy freaking tequacha, bro. Before the flip kit, we were sitting at 35 1/4. Now we are, 30 1/4. Well, 30 and almost 1/4, so that was only 5 inches. I'll be damned. I'm kind of thinking to myself, I should have just done the shackles, because the shackles would have gave me 2 inches. So it would have been sitting 3 inches higher than what it is right now. I don't know, man. Put it in the comments down below, of course, what it is you think. I know the majority of you guys are probably gonna hate it, but I want like a clean, like subtle, lowered truck. And that is, well, I've definitely seen it a lot more slammed before, like the trucks that roll around, like around here. I think I can't really give a true honest opinion until we get the front done. And of course now I think it's gonna need a different set of wheels. A larger wheel with a smaller tire would definitely make it look a lot nicer. Or maybe even a smaller tire on these wheels, I don't know. The thing is also gonna very much so need a C-notch, because like you just drop down a curb and it's just smacking the frame. The frame is now the bump stop. So currently the front is sitting at 33 3/4. So I don't know, I think even after I do the drop spindles in the front, I think the front is still going to be sitting a little bit higher than the back. So I don't know, put in the comments down below exactly how it is that you raise the back a little bit after doing an axle flip, because the axle flip seems like it'd be a little bit too much, but the shackles seems like it wouldn't be quite enough. Anyhow, we're gonna find out tomorrow what it is the whole thing looks like lowered. So I hope that you enjoyed this one. Peace out, and I'll see you on the next one.